President has been saying what he's going to do, how he's going to get China to behave. Today, a lot of people thought was a wake-up call, but we have known for literally years that this is more than a trade deal. This is about changing the way the Chinese do business with America, right?
Yeah, and would you mind? I want to have the president's words come to people. I want to just read this tweet. 15 seconds. For many years, China and many other countries has been taking advantage of the United States on trade, intellectual property theft, and much more. Our country has been losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year to China with no end in sight. Sadly, past administrations have allowed China to get so far ahead of fair and balanced trade that it has become a great burden to American taxpayers. As president, I can no longer allow this to happen. And here's the thing, David. This was not a political decision today. This is something transcendent. This is about God, country, and the American working class in this country, which have been attacked by Chinese economic aggression policies for the last 20 years. The president sent a very clear signal to China today. He also sent a very clear signal to corporate America, which has been offshoring our jobs to places like China, that what's important now here is having a strong America, having a fair and balanced playing field, and this is what this decision was about today.
But again, Peter, what surprised me, I expected a downward move by the markets. I did not expect a 600-plus point loss today because of the president doing what he said he was going to do time and time again. Were you surprised at the downward move of the markets?
Not at all. Let me give you some comfort on that. There was two things going on. First of all, as you know, when the market starts moving down now in these days, you got day traders and you got program traders that take up a little volatility. They play on fears of the marketplace. And some people went home happy today, short sellers and day traders. And unfortunately, some people got shook out of the markets. This was not a market moving event of that magnitude. As you know, we've had tariffs on for over a year. The stock market has gone up fairly steadily, and we've had close to 3% growth, and this economy is solid. So I think the bigger thing that was in play here, and this is why the president tweeted about Jay Powell, the Fed once again let us down today in Jackson Hole. They simply don't understand that the Trump economy, with its deregulation and its tax cuts, its cheap energy here, can grow easily at 3% without triggering inflation. And this whole nonsense about how trade tensions are holding things back, it's not that at all. You look in the data, and it's very clear. Higher interest rates by Jay Powell mean a currency, a dollar, that's gone up by over 10%. And you see right in the Q2 data, we lost two-thirds of a point of growth simply because of reduced exports. So the Fed is killing us, just killing us with their misplaced policy. But here's some good news. Here's some bullish news. The European Central Bank has announced that they're going to engage in a fairly strong cycle of monetary easing. Why does that matter? A strong Europe will mean strong demand for our exports. But here's something even better, and this is more subtle, David. When the ECB does that kind of cut in the chess match of central banks, it's going to put further pressure on the Fed to lower rates, because you can't have these big spreads between our rates and the euro bonds without inviting this that's killing us.
China is also going to put more pressure on the Fed, and in fact, that's one thing that Mr. Powell said today in his notes, that if there are more trade tensions, and clearly there are, that will put more pressure on the Fed to lower rates. The president, however, tweeted out something about the president of China, comparing him to Jay Powell. He said that essentially he asked the question, who is our bigger enemy, Chairman Powell or Chairman Xi? And what do you think? I mean, what would be your answer to that?
Well, I would say that we've got an apples and oranges thing here, but what I can say this.
But do you really think, let me just ask though, do you really think that Chairman Powell is an enemy?
He's certainly destroying what is a healthy growth rate in this country with his interest rate policies and a seeming pride that will not allow him to acknowledge what was a severe mistake. And instead, what he does is he blames things on trade tensions, when in fact everybody knows that if rates go up and our currency goes up, our exports got to go down and our growth has to go down. So here's the thing.
Quickly, because I do want to get one question, but go ahead.
Sure. Well, I'm just saying that in terms of what the Fed will do, I think you're right that what China did today and what the ECB is doing is going to put more pressure on the Fed to do the right thing. They need to do the right thing. If they do the right thing and Congress does the right thing, passing U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, if Germany engages in a fiscal stimulus, if we get Brexit straight and get a great deal with the U.K., there's a lot of bullish stuff out there for us.
The president is going tonight to that G7 meeting, so he'll be able to make his case in person to a lot of those European leaders. So let me just ask, though, because one of the things that did shock businesses, gave them pause, anybody who does business in China, were the words of the president: American companies, and I'm quoting here, are hereby ordered to immediately start looking for an alternative to China, including bringing your companies home and making your products in the USA. How would those orders be carried out?
I think you should simply let those executives take that statement for what it is and interpret it as they will. What I can tell you is this. What we're seeing over the course of the last year and a half is that the supply chain is moving swiftly out of China. That's one of the ways that they're enduring the pain from the tariffs. The other way is devaluing their currency and cutting their prices.
Right.
And this is going to be good. This is going to be
Peter,
good
I got to press you on the
specific
meaning of the word order, which is a clear word. I mean, there's no ambiguity about that word. And there is a law on the books, the Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, and I'll quote from it. It authorizes the president to, quote, declare an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security or the economy. It further authorizes the president, after that declaration, to block transactions and freeze assets to deal with the threat. So many people are saying he does have the authority, the legal authority to do that. Would he exercise that authority? I'll
simply repeat what I said. Let these business executives interpret what the words means to them, with the idea that clearly, if you see the chessboard correctly, there's increased geopolitical risk of locating your production in China. And I think what we're seeing is a very healthy relocation. Some of it's coming home, which is great for America. Some of it's going to places like Vietnam and Thailand and Malaysia, which is also great for America because it's more resilient, diversified, and those folks are more likely to buy our stuff rather than erecting protectionist barriers.
Peter, we got it.
I'm bullish based on all these other things, but the president, he transcended decision, above politics, courage, and that's what Donald J. Trump's about.
Peter Navarro, we got to leave it that. A quick last question. Yes or no? Are you going to Europe tonight?
No, that plane leaves momentarily, and generally I don't go to the G7 unless China's involved. You know, I went to Buenos Aires, I went to Osaka, went to Beijing, but I'm going to let my brother Kudlow carry the flag with Lighthizer, and they're going to do a great job. And this president is going to bring home some news, and I promise you on that. It's going to be good news.
Let's hope it is. Peter, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
All right, David.
Well, today's trade tensions sending the markets lower. The